Good afternoon, traders. This is Tony D from the easyMarkets dealing room in Sydney. Update for you today. We have a little bit more subdued price activity. The market stalled in its rally on the euro dollar overnight at the 109.1840 level. A little bit of profit taking after this recent decent rally that we've had in the last few days, and the ECB's works up about next week's ECB meeting and the potential end of QE has led to a situation now though where it's done enough and there's a little bit of risk event coming up with the G7. The profit taking that has set in wasn't aggressive, but was of the nature that you would want to double think buying exactly on this pullback. It is only 40 pips from the top there, and the momentum has stalled. So, in this market, in this environment, if there is uncertainty, it's probably going to be a relatively quiet Friday. Hard to take extreme positioning into this weekend with the potential for such a mix of reactions to this G7 meeting with Trump and the leaders. And it definitely trade is going to be the top of the agenda, but also the Iran deal will be there. And the market also has the upcoming meeting between Trump and North Korea's Kim on Tuesday morning in Singapore. So there's a lot happening here before the FOMC and ECB on Thursday next week, and there's potential for a little bit more settling down, finding a range is on the cards. So keep that in the back of your mind when you are trading, that market doesn't go straight up, and definitely can go sideways for a little bit, and consolidation is pretty good as well for the bulls, just to regroup and regather and get a bit of strength. In terms of the bears, well, the pressure stopped for now, and perhaps if you're short on the euro, you might be able to get out on a better level than it was looking like yesterday, where the market still hadn't found that resistance that was going to slow it down. Now the pound had a bit more of a selling pressure than the euro, because there was a story out last night that you did have from the UK anyway, Brexit, that they're planning on a backstop deal for UK Union, so the custom unions for Northern Ireland if they can't get a deal, hatch it out, and that would last until 2021. That caused a bit of controversy, a little bit hard to understand exactly the day-to-day moves on those Brexit headlines while the negotiations still happening, but definitely taken as negative from the market, as it wasn't really what they're looking for. They're looking for something a bit more concrete, a little bit more to do with actually getting a deal, rather than plans to when they don't have a deal. And not, it's much more of a hard Brexit scenario than opening anyway than the market was hoping for, with some of these new plans. And well, the largest sticking point is the Northern Ireland border still, and that's really what they have to work upon, whether they're going to have a hard border or not, and how they're going to implement that, and the stubbornness of the hard Brexit members of the UK Parliament versus also the demands from the EU in regards to what sort of solution would be possible. And so that still has to be worked out, but we did have a little bit of reason for cheer if you're a bull in the market. This rally here coming in later in the session from 133.90 up to 134.40 again, although we are stalling with the euro. This came on the back of the one of the NPC members, Rasden, who voted against rate hikes in the past, coming through a little bit more hawkish, a little bit more upbeat on the economy, thinking that the Q1 data was a temporary slowdown, as suggested by the Bank of England due to cold weather, and that recent data supports the view that it is bouncing back, and that inflation still remains above the target rate, and basically hinting of rate hikes sooner than later. And really, that's a story that would should have helped the pound rally a lot further without that Brexit uncertainty that still remains. So that's a really big story to keep an eye on, because that sort of also fits the mold of the ECB ending QE. And if the two brothers, the pound and the euro, are going to rally, it does help if the pound is also has a strong monetary policy backing as well, that they will be raising rates to sort of offset some of the US dollar potential here, because the US dollar has some potential next week as well, given that the FOMC is meeting and probably raising rates, almost 99% priced in by the market. They're going to raise rates at the next meeting next week. But the big debate that everyone's going to be focusing on is questions regarding how the central bank sees its reaction to further high inflation, and whether they're going to increase rates past what the market is currently priced in, or they're going to be patient with a high inflation, high growth environment, or they're going to push interest rates not just back to normal levels, but to contractionary. Try to restrict the growth and the speed of the economy, slow it down by increasing rates above that level, above 3%. That's where you get the market having big US dollar moves still, potentially. Now they did sort of cover this in the last minutes though, and they were angling more towards the being patient and allowing inflation to overshoot. But if that has changed, or if some members push back on that particular idea, then the US dollar rally can be reignited, and the yields in the US bond market can also be reignited from that point of view. All right, so you've got multiple risk events coming up. Next 4 days are going to be some very nice trading environments, very nice moves should be expected. And a lot of things could happen, so keep your trading caps on over the weekend. Keep an eye on some of the headlines coming out of the G7. And although it is a holiday in Australia on Monday, please also keep an eye on the headlines there and the opening levels, because the markets will be open in Japan and the rest of Asia, so you should see some reaction if there is big headlines from the G7 meeting. If you want to have a deeper chat about the current fundamental backdrop, or what's moving and what's the things to be watching on right now in the market, please come through on the numbers below. If you're not a member of the easyMarkets dealing team and you do want to have a chat about how we can assist your trading, you can sign up with an account below, and you can contact us and have a little deeper chat about how we can assist you and what are the services that we provide.